She killed him with a look 3 seconds before he could even open his mouth. Helen stood in the dining room doorway, clutching a worn photograph in a frame, the one where all 4 of them smiled under autumn's sun 15 years ago. Her fingers trembled, but her voice was ice cold, sharp as a scalpel. "You lied to me. All these years you lied." David froze by the sideboard, wine glass in hand. His shoulders tensed, as if he'd been waiting for this moment, but praying it would never come. At the table, the children went still, Claire, gripping her napkin until her knuckles turned white, and Michael, looking away toward the window as if something out there mattered more than the family falling apart right here. The silence shattered with the crash of the wineglass. The red liquid spread across the hardwood like blood. "It's not what you think," David finally said. "And what do I think?" Helen stepped forward, each footfall sounding like a verdict. "That you slept with my sister? That you both laughed behind my back? That every Christmas, every happy birthday, every I love you was a lie." Claire shot to her feet. "Mom, wait. Dad didn't." "Be quiet." Helen's voice cracked, not with pain now, but with pure, scorching rage. "None of you have the right to speak until I'm finished." She walked to the table and placed the photograph on the linen right into the spreading pool of wine. The faces on the image began to blur. "This morning, my sister died. Alone. In the house you two apparently shared, as lovers. And me? I spent the morning roasting a turkey no one will eat. I set the table for a family that doesn't exist anymore." Michael slowly stood. "Mom, how did you find out?" "I found a letter. In her dresser. Under my wedding dress, my wedding dress." Helen clenched her fists. "She wrote to you, 'I still feel your lips on my neck when Helen steps into the bathroom. It's killing me. But I can't stop.'" Silence hung thick, like smoke after a fire. Then David said the words that changed everything. "She knew you'd never forgive her. That's why she never told you. But I wanted to tell you. Every single day I wanted to. Did you know she was sick?" Helen's voice suddenly cracked with pain. "That she had cancer? That she was dying?" "No," he whispered. "I only found out yesterday. And you still said nothing? Last night, you held me and said, 'Everything will be okay?'" Helen let out a laugh, but it wasn't laughter. It was the sound of a soul breaking. "You knew she was dying, and you let me believe she'd just pulled away? That she was angry over some old grudge." Claire sank back into her chair, covering her face with her hands. "Dad, why?" "Because I was afraid," David breathed. "Afraid of losing all of you. Afraid that if you found out, everything would collapse." "Everything collapsed 15 years ago," Helen said. "You just never saw it." She walked to the window, her back to them all. Outside, rain fell, quiet, mournful November rain, fit for a funeral. But there had been no funeral. Only an empty coffin in her mind and dead memories on the walls. "Remember when we bought this house?" she asked without turning. "You said, 'This will be our fortress. No one will ever break us.' And then, you let the enemy inside." "She wasn't the enemy," David cried. "She was your sister. Which makes the betrayal twice as cruel." Michael stepped toward her. "Mom, maybe we should just wait on this? It's been a hard day." "You're exhausted. We all are. Exhausted." Helen turned to him. There were no tears in her eyes, only fire. "You think I'm tired? I've lived a lie for 15 years. Every morning I woke up thinking, how lucky I am. But I was just an actress in someone else's play. And the only ones laughing were you. All of you." "We weren't laughing," Claire shouted, jumping up. "Dad cried every night when he thought we were asleep. He prayed you'd never find out." "And her?" Helen asked. "Your aunt, did she cry too?" Claire hesitated. "She loved you. Truly. She said you were the kindest thing she'd ever had. And that she hated herself for what she'd done." Helen lowered her head. "Why now? Why today?" "Because she's gone," David said. "And she can't stay silent anymore. The letter was meant for you. She wanted you to forgive, all of us." "Forgive?" Helen lifted her head. "You think forgiveness is a magic word that fixes everything? Would you forgive me if I'd betrayed you too with your best friend?" Michael fell silent. Claire looked down. "No," she whispered. "Exactly." Silence settled again. Only the rain tapped at the window. Somewhere in the house, a clock ticked, counting down the final moments of what used to be called family. "What are you going to do?" David asked. "Leave," Helen said. "Today. Now. I don't want to see you or this house. Or the memories." Or the lies? And us? Michael asked. You're adults. You chose to stay silent. That makes you part of the lie. We didn't choose. Claire cried. We were kids. We didn't know what to do. But you knew enough to stay quiet. And that's enough to betray me. She grabbed her coat from the armchair by the fireplace and headed for the door. Mom, wait. Michael called, rushing after her. Where will you go? To Aunt Sarah's. In Maine. You haven't spoken to her in 20 years. Then it's time to start. At least she never slept with my husband. She walked out. The door slammed, not a goodbye, but a rupture. A week later, Helen sat on the porch of her Aunt Sarah's house. Pine trees surrounded them, silence, the scent of the sea. The house was old but well kept. Inside, books, cats, and the smell of cinnamon. No family photos on the walls. Only landscapes. Sarah handed her a cup of tea. You don't have to stay here, she said. But if you do, don't bring your past with you. Leave it in the trunk. Helen nodded. Words stuck in her throat like shards of glass. I feel like a fool, she finally said. Like my whole life was a play, and I was the only one who believed it was real. People don't lie because they want to hurt you, Sarah said. They lie because they can't be honest with themselves. And then the pain comes anyway, with interest. Helen looked at her. And you? Did you ever forgive Dad? For what? For leaving us? For choosing another family? Sarah smiled faintly. No. But I stopped waiting for him to change. That's forgiveness as far as I'm concerned. Just letting go. What if you can't let go? Then you wait. Or you drive farther away. Helen fell silent. Somewhere in the distance, gulls cried. 3 weeks later, a letter arrived. From Claire. Mom. Dad moved out of the house. Said he can't live where you'll never be again. He rented an apartment in another city. Michael and I stayed. But the house is empty without you. We're not asking for forgiveness. We just want you to know, we love you. Even if you don't love us anymore. Aunt Lisa left you something. In her will. The lawyers are waiting for your call. Helen stared at the letter a long time. Then she tucked it into a drawer. Didn't reply. Didn't call. But 2 days later, she dialed the lawyer's number. The meeting was in a small office in Boston. The lawyer, an older woman with kind eyes, handed her an envelope. She wanted you to have this in person. Inside, a key and a note. Helen, forgive me for everything. I don't deserve your forgiveness. But this house is yours. I bought it when I realized I was dying. It's on the lake where we walked as kids. It's quiet there. A place to start over. Or not to start at all. Just to be. You were always my hero. Lisa. Helen left the office numb. She didn't go there. Not right away. But 2 weeks later, on a Saturday morning, she started the car and drove. The trip took 5 hours. The house was small, white, with a porch and a swing. Inside, furniture, books, even a vase with dried flowers. On the mantel, another photo, the two of them as girls on the beach. Helen sat on the floor and cried. For the first time in all this time. 2 more months passed. Winter came. Helen lived in the lakeside house. Mornings with coffee on the porch, evenings with books. Sometimes Sarah visited. Sometimes Claire. Never with Michael. Never with David. Just mother and daughter. Silently making soup. Silently walking. Gradually, talking again. One day, Claire said. Dad called. He's sick. Not terminal. But it's hard on him. It's not my concern, Helen said. But the rage was gone from her voice. He asked me to tell you that he thinks of you every day. And that if he could turn back time, he'd do everything differently. Time doesn't go backward, Helen said. Only decisions do. She paused. Tell him to get well. It wasn't forgiveness. But it wasn't a sentence either. In spring, Helen invited the kids for Easter. For the first time in years. They came with flowers and pie. David wasn't there. This time, by her request. At the table, it was awkward. But not hostile. Michael talked about his new job. Claire about the boyfriend she'd introduced to Aunt Sarah. Helen listened, smiled, asked questions, not out of politeness, but because she wanted to know. When they left, Claire hugged her. Thank you for letting us in. A home isn't walls, Helen said. It's who stays inside it. That summer, David sent a letter. No apologies. No excuses. Just, I sold our house. The money's in your account. It's not redemption. It's just an attempt to give back something. Helen transferred the money to the kids. For school. For a home. For a future. In the fall, she visited Lisa's grave for the first time. She laid a white rose and said, "I'm still angry, but I don't want to be alone because of it." The wind rustled the leaves. Somewhere in the distance, children laughed. And so, on the last Sunday of November, Helen invited them all, David, Claire, Michael, Sarah. Not to the old house. To the new one by the lake. She set the table. Roasted the turkey. Lit candles. When they gathered, no one knew how to begin. Then Helen raised her glass. "Not to the past," she said, "but to what we can still build together." They clinked glasses. No mention of Lisa. No mention of betrayal. No mention of pain. But in all their eyes, hope. Fragile as the first ice on the lake. But real. Because family isn't perfection. It's a choice. The choice to forgive. To stay. To begin again. Even with a broken heart. Even when the past won't let go. Even when the truth is too heavy. Sometimes, it's enough just to sit at the same table. And say, "I'm here." Nothing more is needed.